Good evening. Tonight is Wednesday, June 20th, 2019. Welcome to the Can we please stand and pledge allegiance?
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first order of business is to put our agenda in order. Could I please have a motion to accept the agenda? Second. All in favor? Next thing is audience comments.
Consent agenda.
Excuse me?
Consent agenda.
Oh, that's right, gosh. Excuse me, see you making me rush too much. Could I please have a motion to accept the consent agenda? Second. Okay. Now we go on to audience comments. If anybody wishes to come and speak at the podium, please know that you're limited to 3 minutes. Please know that you're not allowed to speak about any specific incidences, any names of administrators, any names of teachers, any names of children. Does anybody wish to come up and speak? Thank you very much. Okay, now we have superintendent's report. Right, I'm going to do the acceptance of donations after the superintendent.
Okay, just a couple updates because I know we have a group of people here to present, talk about our elementary academic report. It is officially the end of the year. We have moving up ceremonies. We had one at the middle school yesterday, Furnace Woods this morning, BV tomorrow, Frank G on Friday, and then the granddaddy of them all is graduation at SUNY Purchase this Sunday. So it is officially the end of the year. Also, what signifies the end of the year are academic awards. So this morning the middle school had their academic awards. Tonight and tomorrow the high school had their academic awards for seniors as well as underclassmen. That's why we don't have a full board here, and we wrap up our meeting at a decent hour.
But you're making me crazy trying to get done.
I know there's an interest in trying to catch the tail end of the academic awards ceremony. We are finalizing our staffing for next year. So we are in the process of making offers and having folks approved, and that will continue over the next couple of weeks as we prepare for the 18-19 school year. So we wrap up this school year, we're already getting ready for next. And wanted to give an update on our capital project. Moments ago, the board approved the intent to hire an architectural firm. That architectural firm now finishes our team, our design team. We now have our construction managers on board, and now we have our architects on board. And those two groups, in combination with myself, Enrique, and Anthony Merlini, will meet on Friday to officially kick off the design and implementation of the $18.5 million capital project. While this is exciting and we're going to start to design the vision of what the board had and the community approved back in May, it also is going to take some time. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of bureaucracy that we have to follow because we are using state dollars. So there's a lot of checks and balances, a lot of questions, a lot of meetings with the state. So this will be a long process. Just because the monies were approved a month ago does not mean we can stick a shovel in the ground quite yet. So we will keep the community updated throughout the summer. Certain phases of the project will be able to start sooner than others, but we're not going to know that until we have our design complete and we have consulted with the state. The additions and renovations to the schools, whether it's auditoriums or classrooms or vestibules and foyers, particularly at the 3 elementary schools, because those designs are a little more involved. We're going to need additional state approval And whenever you have state approval for a capital construction project, you're talking anywhere between 30 and 40 weeks of the state reviewing those plans. So I know there's a lot of energy and enthusiasm and excitement about this project. We share that. But we are now at the mercy of the state to make sure that we do this not only well, but we do it the right way within the confines of the law. So it is hurry up and wait, but the work will begin, and throughout the summer we'll provide updates, and throughout the fall, especially as we get into finalizing the design, we'll have regular updates at board meetings as well as on our website. So we're very, very excited to have both of those teams on board, the construction manager and the architect, but now the work begins, and we'll pressure the state to try to move this along as quickly as possible, but we really need to be patient. With that, I'll turn it back.
Thank you. Now we'll go back to donations, and we have a few donations. First one is to approve a donation from Frank G. Lindsay Elementary School PTA for $7,161.20 in order to supplement the cost of arts and education. We thank the PTA at Frank G. Lindsay for their extremely generous donation. That's wonderful. Thank you. We also have a donation totaling $740 for Furnace Woods. An employee from New York Life made a matching donation of $740, and we also appreciate that to Furnace Woods School. Furnace Woods School also had a donation from their Stop and Shop Rewards program, and they received $160.89. So we thank all the people that were able to go to Stop and Shop and receive awards from that. We also have a donation in the amount of $8,045 to the high school graduating class of 2018 from a variety of donations, the people's scholarships that they have donated to the graduates. There are 2 pages which you can read on the website, very generous. And some of them are past employees, some of them are people that have passed away, unfortunately, and some of them, including the Cortland Engine Company, are just very generous people donating now. And we thank them very much for that. Okay, moving along. We have committee reports. Does anybody have anything that they would? Oh, that's right. My game tonight. Can I please have a motion to accept the donations? Second? All in favor? Aye. Now we move on to committee reports. Anybody? Okay, good. You'll be happy. Now we're moving on to presentations. Tonight is our elementary academic program update, and it's so wonderful to see so many friendly faces in the audience of people I've worked with and people I know and people I admire. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Roller.
Hey, do you guys like us to use the podium?
I don't know, I'm going to show.
Oh, look, we have a clicker. Let me know when will this work over here, Liz?
Yes.
All right. So, thank you for inviting us this evening to present the academic program update for elementary. And I am thrilled to have some of our grade level leaders with us here this evening. So, although all the names up there represent the grade level leaders from the K-5 division, we have a few folks who are with us this evening. Each of them will talk to one of our slides. So we're going to get started, and I'll introduce them as we go along. All right, so as you can see, we're going to talk a little bit about each prong of the work at K-5. Reading workshop and writing workshop will be done by Marissa Dietrich. Word Work Foundations will be done by Lorianne Perel. Patty Holtzman will talk about math. Unfortunately, Beth Miller was supposed to be with us tonight, but was ill at the last minute, so I will take her place and try to fill in for assessments and AIS. And then the last slide will talk a little bit about the enrichment program at elementary and also the 6-day calendar change. So without further ado, I will ask kindergarten teacher extraordinaire, Marissa Dietrich, to join us.
Well, I'm going to be talking about a reading and writing workshop in the K-5 classrooms across the district. So this is going on daily in every classroom, and to make you familiar with the workshop model, it is basically in a gradual release format. So that means I do, we do, and then you do format. So the I do is when the students are presented with some kind of skill or particular strategy by the teacher. Then they move to guided instruction, which is where the teacher practices that skill or strategy with the students. And then the I do, or you do, I'm sorry, where the students go off independently to work and practice that skill. If you were to walk into a K-5 classroom during a reading or writing workshop block, you would see one of three things. You would either see whole group going on, whole group instruction, small group instruction, or independent work by the students. So the whole group is teacher-led, where the mini lesson is going on. It can also incorporate an interactive read aloud, or particularly in a K-1 classroom, you'll see a lot of shared reading lessons, which are typically done with the big books, or a shared writing lesson where we like to say we share the pen with the kids. So it could be, I know in my classroom, a morning message where maybe we leave a few sight words out of the morning message, or some beginning sounds, and we share the pen and they come up and we work together to fill in the missing pieces. There may also be small group work going on, which can either be guided reading lessons or strategy work, which basically, if you see, in my classroom, if I saw maybe a handful of kids, 5 kids that were really having trouble with punctuation, that's not really enough for me to do a whole group lesson. So instead, I would pull those 5 kids for a strategy, small group work. So when that's going on, the other kids are working in centers and practicing other skills that they have learned in past lessons. Then there's the independent piece, where students are choosing what they're reading or they're writing, and the teacher is moving from student to student and really working on their individual needs. And this is where you're going to see a lot of differentiated instruction, and also one-on-one time for the teacher to really get to know the student as a reader, as a writer, but also as a person, and really build that relationship with them. So it's a really, really important time in the classroom. And last but not least, just to touch on the classroom library, we talk a lot about choice and the importance of really making kids want to read. So teachers K-5 at Penn are really working on creating, or continuing to create, really enriching libraries that entice the kids and really make them want to read. And sometimes our libraries will change from year to year based on the interests of our kids, or different units that we may be teaching. So it's just another essential component to the reading writing workshop. Thank you.
Okay, and we talked earlier in the spring, I think Joe and I did a presentation, we talked a lot about professional development around reading and writing workshop. Has been very intensive the past few years. Carl Anderson is coming back for his 4th year with us, is that right? Wow. Doing really amazing things with our elementary people, and now looking forward to working at the middle school a bit. And both Dan Fiegelson and Linda Weinbaum coming in this year to work with our K-1 and our 2-5 teachers around what does a reading workshop look like, and what are units of study, what are we had a long chat before all of you came in about books, new books to purchase for the K-1 classroom. So we're all very excited about that. So I'm going to introduce to you now Lorianne Carell, first grade teacher at BV, and she is going to speak eloquently about foundations.
Hi. Foundations program has been with us for 3 years now, and a few of us have probably done it a little bit longer than 3 years, according how our budget has gone for those professional developments. The program definitely begins in the kindergarten and progresses smoothly with the kids to the next level as the skills progress. You can see it from kindergarten, going to 1st grade, going to 2nd grade. Using the same language is wonderful that they can see, and also the same all of the materials grow with them also. The assessments that are used for the foundations are used for our RTI process, so that the teacher can then take those, all of their progress monitoring that they have, and it makes nice graphs for the committee to see, which is great, and it can follow the child, that can follow the child also. There are many styles that have in the Foundations program. There are skywriting for the kindergartners, where they can use their whole body and get their bodies moving and get that finger going, and so they know the sky line, the plane line, and the grass line, and they learn how to make their letters using their whole bodies. Moving it onto the magnetic journals, and then they have their own small little whiteboards, and also there's also gel boards. So they have a variety of different things that they can use to help them with their learning of all of their word works. The instruction basically is the 5 main components: the phonemic awareness, and the phonics. A big component also is the handwriting, like I said, that in the kindergarten all the way through. And of course now they're emphasizing the cursor for the older children now also. It's a great program, and there's also a lot of PD that we have with it now through BOCES, that all the teachers, new teachers that are coming in, will be able to have access to the foundations. It's a great little program.
Okay, so I'm going to invite Kathy Holtzman, 3rd grade teacher at BV, to come up and talk about math K-5. Okay?
Thank you. We are currently using Eureka Math, which is a program devised by teachers. So it really has the teacher in mind, has that child in mind when it was put together. And it really does support our teachers, because everything right now is digital. We have not only our teacher editions, we have the kid pages, there's pacing, there's curriculum guides, there's loads and loads of resources there available for the teacher, and they are constantly listening to the feedback from teachers, and they're making changes. So for example, they have now added a lot of the student pages in Spanish, so you can access those, so you can give them to your families with that regard. They're also listening to the issues that we've had with the assessments, and they have now addressed that with Affirm, is their new product that they have out. Margaret had just shared with me a video clip on it, and they have a sandbox that I'll get to use over the summer, so I'll get to kind of play with it. But you are then able, as the teacher, to manipulate your questions so that it really meets the needs of your kids. If a child doesn't do well on something, you can reword it, and you can maybe change the numbers up and let them have another go at it. So it really helps the teacher support the kids. It also helps support families. They have plenty of parent tip sheets. They have lots of videos. Some of the videos are with Eureka, and a lot of other school districts around the country have spent a lot of time making great videos that connect with it, and we're able to share those supports with our families. And you know, there was a time when they would come to you and they go, "Oh, that new math, can't do that." Go, "Oh, it's really not that bad. Take a look at some of the video clips," and it takes a few minutes, but you can actually start to make the connections between what we learned when we went to school and what we're now kind of sharing with the kids. And for the children, as you're going through, really we're just adding different strategies than what we might have learned, but it really addresses the way your brain thinks, or the way different brains are thinking. And it gives them multiple opportunities and different ways to attack a program. To attack a problem. So for example, when they're in like K1, you use a 10 frame. So you can then take that now, and in 3rd grade we use that 10 frame to apply it to measurement when we're doing volume of water and capacity and things of that nature. So the kids are able to then take what they learned and now apply it in a new way. So you're kind of continually building on those strategies. We're forever practicing multiple strategies, so when you get to a problem, you can decide, do I want to use a tape diagram? Do I want to use a number bond? What is really going to be the best way to solve a problem? So it really allows the kids to solve these real-world problems in a variety of different ways. And so they get to respect each other's way of thinking because there's a lot of sharing out. Similar to what Marissa had said about that workshop model, the math is going that way too. We have our lesson, and kids are practicing on their own. You know, from the teacher, you're pulling small groups of kids who are having trouble with it, and then we all come back together and they share out their favorite way of solving a problem. And you get a lot of the, oh, I didn't think of it that way kind of statements from them. So it really is a really nice way to support the kids, support the families, and again, to support the teachers. So, thank you.
Okay, so this brings us to the slide on assessment. So at the foundation of all good teaching is strong assessment, because in order to teach well, I have to know my children well, and that means I have to know what they're good at and what they're not quite yet good at. So sitting at the center of assessment in K-5 is iReady, which is an online tool that we use as a benchmarking process, spring, fall, winter, spring. It is part of our RTI requirement. So RTI is response to intervention, and it allows us to look at kids who may be struggling at different points in the year in different aspects of curriculum and or social and emotional behavior, and make some decisions about what's the next right step? Who steps in to help close a gap with a kid? And there are levels of RTI. I don't want to do a whole presentation on that, so I'll move along. We could go down that pathway very easily. So iReady focuses on ELA and math. Kids sit for probably about a half-hour assessment, and the assessment is adaptable, so it'll keep moving the child to the level at which they finally are, I'll say, instructional. Not too hard, not too easy, that kind of Goldilocks spot. A lot of that information is then manipulated and fed back to teachers instantaneously. So if a child sits for it at 9 o'clock, I can have a report by 9:30 that tells me where my teaching should go, what kind of groupings I should use in my classroom. Alongside iReady, because the state reminds us that we should be using multiple measures to make decisions about children, we use another product called Fontes and Pinnell Benchmark Assessment System, and that is a measurement of reading only. So it's an opportunity for each teacher to sit side by side with every student in their class, and for a very short period of time they are listening to that child read aloud and process a new text. I learn a lot of things that way, what kinds of words kids are stuck on, what kinds of strategies they have when they get stuck on a word, or when they lose meaning in a passage. And then finally I ask lots of comprehension questions about the piece. So I'm able to assess accuracy in terms of, can a child decode the words they just noticed? Fluency, what is, not just how fast do they read, but what kind of expression do they use when they read? If there's dialogue, do they know how to sound like the character? Do they slow down when they struggle and speed up when they're okay with the text? And then the comprehension part, do they understand what they read? And there are different levels of comprehension that we look for, literal level, an inferential level. And then with the older kids, we ask them also if they can critique the piece that they just read. So while we do that, while we require it to be done 3 times a year, fall, winter, and spring, we also remind teachers that, the teachers do running records all the time in between those time periods. So if I'm doing a small group with kids, I might hold Marissa back and send the rest of the group on to something and do a quick running record with Marissa in between those time periods to make sure that I'm teaching her at the place in which she needs my help the most. Not over-expecting, but not under-expecting what she's able to do. So those are 2 important tools that we use, and we're about to come on board with a tool for math. So let's talk a little bit about AIS. So Academic Intervention Services is where a student goes for help when we've decided that the classroom teacher has exhausted all of his or her interventions within the classroom setting. So for a long time, we have had reading, like our colleagues around the world, seems to get the most buzz, if you will. We're coming on board this year with AIS Math, maybe not as full-fledged as I would like it to be, but we have to start somewhere. So let's talk about reading for a second. Students who are screened using the tools that we just talked about, iReady and the Fontes and Pinnell Benchmark, they're grouped by either need or by level in their classroom and when they go to the AIS teacher for assistance. So once I go to a reading teacher for extra help, because I'm still getting help in the classroom from my classroom teacher, this is a double dose, if you will, Our AIS reading teachers have a lot of tools available to them for them to make decisions about what is the appropriate intervention, depending upon the need of the children that are in front of me. All of the different tools that we either have trained folks in or they've come to us with training from someplace else address three major factors. Can a child decode? Can they read with fluency? And can they understand what they've read? So comprehension is really the queen of all of this. There are a lot of kids who sound proficient. We have young kids who can read the New York Times, but if they can't tell you what the article is about, then they're really not reading, they're just word calling. And we want kids to be readers. We want them to understand what they've read and to be able to talk about it, or in some cases to write a little about it. So that's the work of our AIS reading teachers. We have a strong group of folks, 3 at BB, 3 at Frank G, 1 at Furnace Woods. We have 2 at the middle school and 1 at the high school. And they have a nice conversation going back and forth. So as kids move along in the system, they're sharing about what that kid may or may not need at a given time. AIS Math, so this year we were very lucky to have a teacher be able to have some time in a resource room schedule to pilot an AIS Math program for us. And it was very successful, and along with Lisa Schuckman's help and Ellen Gargiulo, who's the Assistant Director for Elementary Special Ed, we were able to find some time so that each building will have someone who can do a resource room type AIS Math period during the day. Those 3 folks are right now getting some professional development yesterday, today, and tomorrow with people who have done this work in other places in the exact same math program that we use. So next year we pilot this, and we have some decisions to make. And I was actually talking to the 3 folks today when we were waiting for the PD to start about what that will look like. Again, the first thing we need is assessment. We need to be able to decide which children need AIS Math and which don't. Again, exhausting the amazing abilities that our classroom teachers have in their classroom instruction. So we're looking at 2 tools right now. We'll have to make some decisions about which way to go. One is Key Math, which is interestingly a tool that has been picked up at the middle school this year. And another tool is Boulder Valley's assessment, which have been used all over the place. And I guess, we'll sit with Cindy and Josh and Donna and talk a little bit more about what we think is the right move for us to make. Aside from that, we have to obviously realize that if we have almost a half-time person, we can't service every single grade level, so we'll have to make some decisions about how do we cycle kids in and out of AIS Math. My goal is to continue to build that so that at some point in time in the foreseeable future we may have that be a full-time position. But for now, I think everybody K-5 is breathing a sigh of relief that at least we'll have something and some place to start. Okay. So some other topics related to the elementary academic program. We do teach content. So social studies, our teachers are using a very well-worn and well-loved tool, the Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES Social Studies ELA database. Many, many years ago, a very well-known consultant, Giselle Martin-Kniep, started this particular database with the help of the teachers in the Westchester region. So people came together and worked with Giselle to build this robust program for social studies. Actually we're up to 8th grade now. So we're very proud of that. And we buy a subscription to the database. Teachers have not only lesson plans to choose from, but a wealth of resources, some of them print and some of them electronic, videos, in order to teach this particular requirement. And there are units of study in every grade level, starting from getting to know myself and my family in kindergarten, all the way up to getting to know who America is in this region and what forms of government look like. Science, we partake in a program at BOCES again called Science 21, a program that is undergoing a great deal of change as the next gen standards have come into play. So we have kindergarten and grade 1, I think, have gone out already with new units. Grade 2 comes on board this year, and grade 3 is going for training to get their new program in place. Did you
This summer?
Kathy?
No,
This
I'm
summer.
going
So
next
Kathy
week.
is going
I go
with,
to Red Brick
I
Road.
think Amy at Frank G. So they're very excited about that. They're excited about what the kids are doing. I think I mentioned before that the next gen standards are very heavily STEM and engineering focused, and kids are doing and iterating some really interesting things. You would be amazed what kindergarten kids actually can do. So we're all very excited about that.
It's very exciting to see.
It is, and we should actually do something on that next year, maybe at one of the board meetings, to
You should,
showcase a
really,
couple of
I
kids,
think
because it's
A lot
impressive.
of people will be amazed
Yeah.
at what kids are doing.
It's impressive to have the kids explain to you what they're doing and why they're doing it the way they're doing it. So, enrichment. So we have a double-pronged piece. One piece of it is enrichment for all, and the other piece remains the pullout that we know in 4th and 5th grade. Carol sits on our committee. We had a meeting last week, I think, just to kind of catch up with everybody. Unfortunately, Valaire, who is our gifted and talented teacher, couldn't be with us, but she had put together a very impressive PowerPoint that she shared with us about her experiences in both the enrichment for all piece and the pullout piece. And I think we had a good conversation about expectations and, where do we want this to go. So we will continue to work with Valaire and our principals around what the units look like for all of the kids who experience a cycle with Valaire. And also then the Horizons program and what that looks like. We had some good feedback from parents at that committee that I still have to be able to share with Valaire. So that's ongoing. And I think all of us feel like it's a work in progress, so that we're always trying to tweak this and make the experience more powerful for kids. We also talked about the fact that enrichment happens after school as well. So, what can that look like? Because we can't do everything during the day as much as we would like to. So we continue to have conversations about how that program will evolve as we move forward. And then lastly on the slide is the 6-day calendar. So as you all know, we went to a 6-day schedule this year in the elementary division. And we had made a promise to create a committee, which we did, comprised of classroom teachers, special area teachers, parents, and administrators. And the purpose of the committee was really to kind of be an oversight. How is this going? What's going well? What needs to be fixed? What do we do next? What do we want next? We had met early in the year, probably the end of September, beginning of October, and had a kind of whole group, very free-flowing conversation about it. And then the decision that I made was to let us go through the winter, which was a good thing, because I didn't know we were going to have this horrible winter, but it was a very good training ground for us. So we had this really ridiculous experience of 8 snow days and things being bumped all over the place, early releases, late arrivals. It challenged all of us. I think we're still trying to make up some of the things we missed through the year. But it was a good experience for the 6-day calendar committee because it made us recognize some flaws with the existing program and how we could address it better. So we met again in March. And we did that meeting a little differently. I asked the building principals to get feedback from our classroom teachers, and then I met privately, I'll say separately, because privately sounds like it's a secret society, which it wasn't. So I met separately with the parent reps and separately with the special area folks. And I did that because I thought in our free-flowing conversation in the fall, not everybody had a chance to speak and say what they wanted to say or ask their questions. So this was a way of everybody having an opportunity to be heard. And then I fed all of the conversations together in a document where everybody that's on the committee had a chance to read it and prepare themselves for our face-to-face meeting. And we did a lot of brainstorming at the face-to-face meeting, and I think a good problem solving. The biggest takeaway from the 6-day calendar reflection was to not roll the calendar forward when we have snow day, which we were doing this year. So if it was day 4 and we got closed for snow, the next day was day 4. And that made life a little complicated for these folks sitting here, for the people who work in the district part-time. So we made a commitment that we will not do that the calendar will be set in August. And we will roll it forward for known holidays. So on Columbus Day, if Columbus Day would normally have been day 3, then Tuesday will be day 3. But that we will not let Mother Nature have her way with our calendar this winter. It will stay set in stone, which will allow teachers and even our PTAs to plan things, knowing that May 13th will be day 6. No matter how many snow days we have, it won't change. We also had a nice opportunity to talk about specials and continue to reflect on what other types of specials would we like. How do we continue to work with our PE department to try to get closer to that mandate? And my conversations with Derek and Tommy Baker have been really fabulous around that. I think we've all come to realize we do have a challenge ahead of us, but we think we can get there with some creativity. So that's really the K-5 program in a nutshell, or maybe not so much of a nutshell. Does anybody have questions for anybody that spoke, or anybody? Our three principals are here tonight. I'm sure they'd be happy also to answer questions about anything we've shared. Well, we thank you for having us. The teachers were a little nervous, but I told them that you are always love having teachers here. So I'm excited that they were able to come tonight, and I'm very grateful
I
that
just
they could take time.
have a very quick question, because I know that the classroom teachers had to work for their first year through the 6-day program, and I've heard positives and negatives, and, you know, I think we as board members are just curious, how did you feel that the whole 6-day schedule worked, and will it be better for you now that you know which specific days are going to be, like the 1 days, the 2 days? You know, do you think that that will have a more positive impact for you?
Definitely. I think it, you know, became very confusing and just difficult, you know, with the rollovers.
Management, right?
Yeah, it really was tricky. So I think not rolling over the days with the snow days is going to make a very big difference, because even if we planned different different activities and whatnot, you know, certain areas of the school were being used if it was a day 3 and whatnot, and with all the changes, you know, it was a lot of extra work, you know, a lot of extra time to figure it all out. So I think having that set schedule is going to make a big difference.
Yeah, definitely. Especially teachers are such organizers, and we want to have everything in place that,
They offered very good feedback to the committee. I think everybody did. The parents were very thoughtful, and they tried to reach out to each, there's one from each school, so they tried to reach out to their constituency as well. And the special area people also, I mean, the reflection was, yes, they did see their kids with more regularity than they have in the past, and that was a problem with losing Mondays, losing, et cetera. And they had some really great suggestions about how to, I don't want to say necessarily expand, but we talked about minutes, we talked about, you know, cycles, maybe bringing different kids back for another cycle, especially with PE. We did learn that with regard to PE, New York State does allow schools to incorporate the minutes that are devoted to social and emotional learning. So as we bring a fuller program on board in elementary, we'll be able to catch up a little bit with that. And look at more mindfulness activities, you know, maybe yoga, to try to get some of that.
Yeah, that was
in
going to be
place.
my next question, is I know you and I had spoken about possibly yoga or meditation, you know, for children, just to get a different mindset at times, you know, is that being considered
It is
going
being
forward?
considered, and so that's a question of also looking at whatever SEL students we bring in, and then also thinking about, one of the things that we realized, and it was actually kind of a duh moment, we only have limited gym space. We can't do anything about the physical space we have. So the gym is only as big as the gym is in each of the 3 schools, and there's only so many kids you can put in there to really have a meaningful PE lesson. But we can use something like yoga and other mindfulness activities in another location in the school where I don't need gym equipment. You know, I can put a mat down on the floor, but if I can use ropes in the cafeteria or in the library. So a little bit of creativity goes a long way, and Derek really has been amazing to work with, and of course Tommy is fabulous. So we continue to try to figure out what could this look like as we keep moving forward, and they keep in touch with their colleagues around the region to see what everybody else is doing to try to get closer to that mandate. So
We have OT people that are actually doing yoga right now for some of our ABC kids. So that's a conversation that we started about expanding. Can we do that? What does it look like? Margaret and I started those conversations. We haven't gotten very far, but you know, those conversations we'll look at going forward.
Good, thank you so much. I think that would be wonderful for the kids. So hopefully maybe you can even get it going for the teachers. Board members. Thank you all. Does anybody
Yes,
else
thank
have?
you.
Coming out tonight, we appreciate it. audience is leaving.
No, Mark,
John's still here.
Can I have the podium?
He's an employee. Now we have board comments. Any new business anybody wants to discuss? Okay.
I'd just like to put a plug out for the great support our community gave Dance Marathon on June 15th. It was a very well-attended event. They raised over $15,000, which the goal was $10,000, and it just, the ladies in charge of it, Samantha Aronson and Taylor Kopiak, put their whole hearts and souls into it and really worked hard, really worked hard to make it come together. And it was a lovely event. And I just want to thank the community for the support they gave at that event, and those students who are being happy too.
I have to tell you, it's amazing how much money was raised, and it's amazing how much time and energy all of you on the committee put in to helping us achieve that kind of goal, so thank you. All right, with that being said, can I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So,
No.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.